Lovelies, welcome back. My name is Tehja and today we have another super duper exciting video. I am so sorry that this is coming out like almost a month, or actually a month later from 7 days of TZ Valentine. I am so sorry. Today we will be transforming into Kim Kardashian West in her body collection promo and actually recreating the Skims two-piece that she's actually wearing. So if you would like to know how to transform into Kim Kardashian West and making this Skims dupe, please keep on watching. Okay, so these are what I'm going to use to make the pattern. I have a shirt, panties, and some craft paper. So I'm going to take my shirt and lay it out on the edge, the straight edge of the craft paper, and pretty much sketch out one half of it. And then what I'm going to do is measure from the dip point of the collar down to how long I want the top to be, and then I'm going to connect that line with the side seam line. And then now I'm tracing it out and marking that it should be cut out on the fold, so when you cut it you have, one full piece. So now I am adding seam allowance of 1/2 inch all around the top. And then now I'm just labeling everything and I'm going to cut it out. Okay, and that's what the pattern piece should look like. So now moving on to the bottoms, I'm using my Savage X Fenty high cut thong bottoms. They're like the closest to the original. And so I'm going to do the same thing, align half of it along the straight edge of the craft paper, pretty much so. Like the craft paper is like the symmetrical line for the panties, and I'm just going to trace it out again. And this is just for the front. And then I'm just going to trace it out in marker so you guys can see what I'm doing. And then I'm marking that this will also be cut on the fold. And then I'm taking my ruler and I'm going to add 1 inch of height to the panties so it's more high-waisted. Then I'm adding 1/4 inch seam allowance all around the panties. Then I'm labeling the pattern, and then I'll move on to the back pattern piece for the panties. So I'm going to flip my, well actually technically I did flip it over, but I flipped it back to the front and then just lifted up the top layer and traced out my panties that way, because I figured that was the best way to trace out the back of them. So you see I'm like lifting up the top layer of the panties to reach the thong part of the back in order to trace it out. Oh, and then I'm also going to add 1 inch to the top of the panties so it can line up with the, length of the panties. And then I'm adding 1/4 inch seam allowance all around the panties as well. Then I'm labeling them and I'll cut both of them out. So these are what the pattern should look like for the panties. It should be this front piece that's a little bit bigger, and then the back piece that's a little bit skinnier since it's a thong panty. So now we're going to move on to the fabric and, cutting all the stuff out. I got this like techno scuba spandex fabric, which is not shapewear material, but it is super stretchy. So I like to stretch out my fabric to see which one has, or which direction has the most stretch, and that will be running horizontally. So anyway, I'm laying down my pattern piece, and I'm using magnets as weights to hold my pattern piece down as I cut it out with a rotary cutter. And then I'm going to be cutting 2 of the, top pieces as well. So we have a front and a back piece. So we have 4 pattern pieces in total, 2 top pieces, 1 front bottom piece, 1 back bottom piece. We are moving on to construction. So now I am putting the back bottom piece on top of the front bottom piece, and right sides facing each other, and I pinned at the side seams and the crotch area, and that's where we'll sew at 1/4 inch. So now we're moving on to the top. I'm doing the same thing, laying the 2 pieces together on top of each other, right sides kissing, and I'm going to pin the side seams and the straps, the shoulders, and I'll sew at 1/2 inch for the top. So this is what the top looks like when we're done sewing. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to cut off a little bit of the excess seam allowance fabric. And then now I'm taking my top and I'm folding over all the raw edges 1/4 inch. And I'm going to pin it and iron it that way, just so we finish all those raw edges, so everything looks nice and clean. So I'm showing you I'm going to do it for the armholes and the collar as well. After you pin everything, that's what it should look like, and you'll do the same thing for the bottoms as well. So that's what the bottoms look like after we sewed them. I'm doing the same thing, cutting off the excess seam allowance. And then I pinned all the raw edges 1/4 inch, except for the top. The top, I did it, but I think I undid it because we're going to do something else for the top. So now I'm just ironing it, so just to make sure that the folds stay in place, so when we do take out the pins while we sew, it won't like disturb anything. Now I'm sewing at 1/4 inch, pretty much towards the edge of that fold. And luckily this fabric doesn't fray, so you don't have to worry about finishing edges like that. So now we are going to take our fold over elastic and cut out the measurement. It should be of your waist. I did it of the actual bottom, so I actually like measured out the bottoms and cut it to that measurement, but it should be to your waist. And then sew together the 2 edges, so it makes like, so you close it and it makes a circle. And so now I'm going to actually place a pin there as like a little marker point, because we're going to mark the 4 center points, so the 4 quarters of the circumference of the elastic, because that's just how you put or do fold over elastic. So what you do is that you put a pin there, and then you fold the elastic in half, and on the other side where that fold is, you put a pin there. Then you meet the 2 pins and mash them together like that, so they meet each other in the middle. And then at those folds at the ends, you put pins there, so it marks the quarter distance of the elastic. And you do the same thing with the bottoms as well. So if you don't get it, I'll link a fold over elastic video down below that probably talks about it and explains it a lot better than I am. But yeah, it's easier than you think. It just sounds really complicated. So anyway, now we're going to do that for the bottom. So I'm going to pin at both side seams. And then I'm going to fold the bottom so that the pins are touching. So pretty much like kissing each other like that. And then at those folds, at those, the folds that they make at the end, I'm going to put pins there so it marks the quarter distances of the circumference of the top of the pants or the bottoms. So now what we're going to do is take the elastic, and we're going to only use 2 of those pins, but pin the elastic to the bottoms using those points, which is only at those points, but I think I only did it at 2, so you can stretch the elastic as you sew. Then I'm kind of like marking or lining up the pins of the elastic to the bottoms and pinning them to the bottoms. And then I'm taking it to the sewing machine, and what we're going to do is as we sew, we're going to tug on the elastic so it aligns with the pin of the bottoms, so the pins align with each other. And we're going to sew, I think it's at 1/4 inch as well. You're going to sew pretty much, I believe, where the center like line is, the center seam is of the actual fold over elastic. I'll put a clip here to show you what I'm talking about. But now after we did that, we're going to cut off the excess seam allowance fabric. Now please be very careful and try not to actually cut the thread, the actual stitch. And there are better scissors to do this with, but I just had my fabric scissors, so we're just gonna use that. But this also takes a while, and you have to be really careful, because the last thing you want to do is actually cut your thread. Okay, so after we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to fold over, hence the name, the elastic. So it kind of sandwiches the hem of the bottoms in between the elastic. And we're going to pin it as well. Pin it and then sew it at the edge of the elastic, and then that's pretty much it. And you do the same thing for the top. So now that's what it should look like after you're done pinning the elastic when it's folded over. And so now we're going to take it to the sewing machine and sew at the edge of that elastic. And then, like I said, you do the same thing for the top, and then after that, that's pretty much it. You know, it's not like the actual, because this was before Skims came out, and I did this video for a really long time before Skims even came out. It's when the body collection came out that I did this video. I just never got the chance to edit it. So it's not like body shaping or anything like that. It's not sucking you in, but you can always use a fabric that's actually like shapewear fabric. I actually might link some down below. You might have to dye it like the color, but I just kind of did it for the look of it. So anyway, this is what the set looks like, and it came out really cute. I could have sewed it like a little bit better, but other than that, I really enjoy the way that it came out, and it feels super comfortable. So, you know, this is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and subscribe if you did like this video. And please comment down below any other transformations or DIYs you would like me to do. And also please stay tuned for part 2 that I'll be launching this Saturday, which I'll be actually doing like the hair and the makeup and also the actual body makeup. Anyway, please love yourself, and I will see you next video. Mwah!